What's up guys, Kakane here, welcome back to the channel. So in the previous video, the IGCSE vlog, a lot of you guys have been commenting, asking me on tips and tricks of how I did my IGCSEs, how to score better grades, how to study, and so on and so forth. So today I shall be bringing to you 10 tips on how to easily score straight A stars in your very IGCSEs. Without further ado, let's jump right into tip number 1 and let's get this video started. Past year papers are really super important. You can never stress this enough. The more past year papers you do, the better it is. Literally anybody who comes to me for IGCSE advice, the first thing I tell them is to do as much past year papers as possible. So if you've seen in my previous video, these are actually the past year papers that I've done. So if you open this box up, these are actually 216 past year papers that I've done, marked and analyzed. Now this is your best friend. The most important part, however, is understanding every single thing that went right and wrong. Now this is actually a very important step, because if your mindset is not right, if you do not have the right goals, the right visions, and the right expectations, you will never be able to achieve your true potential. You want to understand, not memorize. Now this is a test of application, not a test of your memory. Always remember that. You also need to find what motivates and drives you from within. So you need to tap on those factors and make sure that you are pushing yourself to achieve your goals. Also, never ever compare yourself with others. You are your biggest competitor and your only competitor. Only compare with yourself. Look for improvement. Improvement is growth, and that's all that matters. You don't need to compare with the top scorer in your class or the worst scorer in your class. Just compare with the person in the mirror. You need to get your attitude right. Don't procrastinate, be diligent, always be hardworking, always push yourself to the limit. Now something that you can do is to always strive for improvement every single day. Be it something as small as completing a past year paper 10 minutes faster. Now when you slowly set small goals, slowly but surely, in the IGCSEs, in the actual exams, you will be somewhere way higher than where you were in the beginning. Also remember to always build the right learning attitude. You want to learn for the sake of yourself, for the sake of your own learning, because you never stop learning in this mortal life. That's why you want to learn. You don't learn for the sake of grades. That is never the right attitude to have, and I highly discourage you from ever having such a mindset. This is more on your time management. You want to set yourself a schedule, a set amount of past year papers that you want to finish by the end of the week, by the end of the day, or even by the end of this 3 hours per se. You can set short-term goals and long-term goals on your schedule. Make sure you write them down and hold yourself accountable. For example, as some of you have already seen in the past video, I have created a schedule which is basically how many past year papers I need to do each week and how many I have left. So as you can see at the end, I made sure everything reached 0. Go beyond what's taught to you, what's required of you. Do that extra mile. So always have passion for what you're doing. If you're having trouble understanding, find alternative ways to understand the very thing. So what helps me understand is actually by relating every single thing that I learn in theory into real life. Also, by going beyond the scope, you would need to have what's called initiative. You need to have the initiative to go that extra mile and learn that extra information. So as I mentioned earlier, this is actually going the extra mile when your peers are just staying where they are. Now this will make you stand out, and this will definitely pay when it comes to your IGCSEs. Now examples of going beyond the scope can be YouTube, doing extra exercises, or printing extra past year papers from what's already given to you, and online courses. Now speaking of online courses, I would like to thank the sponsor of today's video, First Rate Tutors. First Rate Tutors is an Edexcel IGCSE online course prepared for students all over the world. Now, this course literally encompasses everything that you need to know about IGCSE English Language A as well as English Literature, which will basically be of great help to you. Now, diving into the lecture, you can see that there are actually so many videos for you to watch. They provide 38.5 hours worth of on-demand video with an additional 72 downloadable resources in this very course. There are videos explaining each different section of the paper, including poetry as well as prose text. And in terms of English literature, for poetry, they even have so many different videos explaining each of the different poetries. For example, Macbeth, or Romeo and Juliet, or even The Merchant of Venice, or The Crucible, and so much more. Now, besides, they also have English Language A Paper 1 exams model answers. Now, these are grade 9 model answers, and they are also live exam responses. So if you click on this, you'll notice that the tutor would actually go through each section of it and explain part by part how you are supposed to answer this question. Now, another thing I like about this course is that it's a lifetime subscription, meaning you just give a one-off payment at the very start and you're able to access this account and access this course for the rest of your life with constant updates. Alright, so you guys should definitely check out First Rate Tutors. I will be dropping their link in the description box down below. Check them out, and now let's head back to tip number 6. Now, you might be thinking that this is actually common sense, but to our surprise, a lot of people are actually missing out on this step. They do not ask questions when they do not understand something. So this is actually super important because asking questions would lead to more questions forming, which would actually deepen your understanding. So when you're learning new material, revising, going through notes, or even understanding the mistakes in your past year papers, always try to think of questions. At least that's what I do. Because when you ask more questions, you're actually triggering a chain reaction. One question will lead to another question, which will then lead to another question, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, this process is never ending, but the more questions you ask and the more questions you get answered, the more you actually learn and understand the material. As the saying goes, to never settle for good, always demand for great. I highly resonate with this because you should aim for the sky, and if you don't reach the sky, at least you will still reach the top of the mountain. Now, this is the mindset to have to push yourself to make sure you realize your true potential. So this is the same as asking yourself the question, why settle for less when you can be achieving so much more? So you would want to constantly push your expectations higher and higher, because the higher your standards, the better your results will be and the better your outcome will actually be. Now, take my life as an example. In my early education days, my grades weren't that good. Now, some of you have been asking me in the previous video if my grades were good all along. The answer is no. I used to set goals that are around 60, 70%. It's not that high, but it's not too low. It's more of an average grade. Now, as the days passed and as I started reaching these goals, as I started achieving these numbers, I started to push myself further. In my early high school days, I started aiming for above 80, and then followed by above 85, and slowly in year 10, I noticed myself aiming for above 90 and even above 95 in year 11. Now, by the time I reached my IGCSEs, I've actually reached the expectation. I set a goal of 100% for 6 out of 10 units that I was taking. Unfortunately, I did not manage to get any 100, however, I did get a couple of 99s and I achieved an average score of 96%. Now, that is actually a score that I would have never ever imagined myself getting in year 7 or in year 8. So this is an example of how setting higher goals and constantly pushing yourself to the limit, how it would actually deliver results directly to you. I believe that this is a no-brainer. However, I would still like to stress out that taking notes is very important. This is because notes are your entire understanding of the material. So every single thing that you understand and comprehend from the lectures, from the classes, you write them into notes customized to your liking. It's exactly how you want them to be, which is why you would instantly understand when you read your own notes. However, when you're reading other people's notes, you might not understand them. So what you want to do ideally is to spend a lot of time throughout the semester taking good notes. Now in class, I understand that there might be a time constraint because the lecturer or the tutor is talking, so you do not have much time to write it in detail. So what you can try doing is to just write them in bullet points or just scribble them onto your notebook. Right after that, when you go home, you can transcribe those words and rewrite your notes. Now this will be time consuming, however, I assure you that this is an effective revision method, because when you're rewriting the notes, you're actually thinking of the lecture that day and you're consolidating that memory into your brain, which will help you remember it super clearly and understand it even more clearly. This may actually seem irrelevant. You might be asking me, how would work-life balance even help with good grades? There doesn't seem to be a direct causation there. However, I'm telling you that work-life balance will actually help you get the good grades, because a happy and healthy mind would help you increase focus and increase productivity when you are in the zone. So make sure to always schedule times for your favorite activities, for your social life. Basically, go out, socialize, have fun, party hard, come back and study. So you do not want a life where you're just studying. You want a mix of both, where you have times where you're just focused on your desk studying, and there are times where you're also out there partying hard and having the time of your life. Now last but not least, before the exams, you want to get plenty of rest and feel confident about yourself, because rest would actually make you perform better. If you're not resting, if you're pulling an all-nighter directly before the exams, you will actually be more prone to carelessness and mistakes because you are not feeling well rested. In terms of confidence, you want to find that sweet spot between underconfident and overconfident. Now these two extremes are definitely bad. So find that sweet spot in between to make sure that you enter the exam hall confident, knowing that you are doing your best and you are going to ace this exam. And that's that for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two. I hope this inspires you some way, and do drop by the comments if you have any questions you would like to ask me. Also, do check out First Rate Tutors. Links are already in the description box down below. Smash that subscribe button, like, share, and it's Kakanate logging off. All the best for your exams.